Hi, my name is Aileen Scoular, and I've been asked to create a video about my favourite magazine for the International Magazine Centre. I'm a freelance editor. I've been freelance for the best part of 17 years. In the past, I've worked on teenage magazines, I've worked on B2B, and I've worked in PR. Nowadays, I mainly create branded content for retailers and for membership organisations. Currently, I'm editing a collection of magazines called Beautiful Gardens, and I do that for a group of garden centres, and I work with Wonderly, which is part of Haymarket. I also write about pet care, land management, environmental heritage, and pretty much anything else anyone asks me to. The magazine I'd like to talk about today is Gardens Illustrated, and this is one of the most recent issues. This is the July issue. I'm a passionate gardener. From 2002 to 2005, I studied part-time to become a garden designer, and I did it as a side hustle for a few years alongside my editorial work. I love making plants, I love caring for plants, I love looking at plants. I'm just happiest with my hands in the soil, really. I've been a loyal subscriber to Gardens Illustrated for years. Actually, I can't even remember when I first started. It's the only magazine that I actually keep. I read it from cover to cover, and I keep every copy. They're all filed neatly in numerical order in white box files, and I take them. Whenever I move house, they go to. It's thanks to the editorial content and the beautiful photography in Gardens Illustrated that I've visited gardens all over Britain that I probably wouldn't have even known about, let alone gone to visit. I've hunted down plants that's featured in their pages, and I've salivated over the design and the landscaping. I'll give you an example of the kind of thing that's in there. So this is a typical feature about a garden, and you get beautiful big pictures that go right across the spread, and you can just see incredible sort of plant detail. I've used it as a research resource for my occasional gardening articles, and I regularly dip back into previous issues to remind myself of gardens that I desperately want to visit. One garden that I've been wanting to visit for ages is Lowther Castle up in the north of England. It's been recently completely redesigned by Dan Pearson, and I am absolutely determined to go and visit it at some point. It just looks amazing, and he just keeps redesigning new parts of it. So when I eventually get there, I think it will be worth the wait. The other thing about Gardens Illustrated is the quality of photography. It's absolutely superb. No one makes plants look as beautiful as Gardens Illustrated does. And this, if I show you a portrait of this beautiful tobacco plant in the July issue, which is just exquisite, or in my eyes, it's exquisite. That to me is just beautiful. And like many other plants before them, I'll log the name of that tobacco plant in the sort of plant filing cabinet in my head. It'll probably take me years, but I'll hopefully track it down and I buy the seeds or buy a plant eventually. I think the other lovely thing about Gardens Illustrated is it actually champions illustration, contemporary illustration, which I think is becoming more and more unusual in our, in a kind of digital friendly world, which, where everyone thinks they can kind of take pictures on their camera phone. So to see illustration used like this, I think is unusual, but really exciting. I think the other thing that they regularly cover in the magazine is work by artists whose work has actually been inspired by gardens or plants, and personally, I find that just as interesting as the actual plants themselves. So this is a kind of typical example, which I just think is just beautiful. You can sort of see just the way they've laid it out, the images that they've used. It's just tonally and creatively, it's just fabulous. I think the other thing that I sort of looking at the words, the thing I really love about Gardens Illustrated is it's all about the detail. It unashamedly uses the correct Latin names of plants rather than dumbing down with common names, and I absolutely love that. I spent 3 years at college learning Latin plant names, being tested on them on a weekly basis, and I relished the sound of them sort of in my mind and on my tongue. I love the fact that features in Gardens Illustrated can run to 6 or 7 pages without, they don't see it as a waste of space. And I appreciate the fact that the editorial content really requires proper focus and concentration to read it. It's not just pictures with captions, it's proper long copy features. It's a magazine, I guess, that inspires me creatively as a gardener. It educates me, but it also entertains me in equal measure. And that's pretty much what you want from a magazine, I think. Interesting though, the magazine hasn't actually changed a lot. I think I've been reading it probably for over 15 years, and it hasn't really changed much, but I actually value that. I know that horticultural advertising is tricky. Other gardening magazines have been and gone. I know it's harder and harder to come by these days. I appreciate how challenging it must be to make a magazine like this commercially viable, and yet the quality of the content, the visual content and the editorial content never falters. I live in hope that Gardens Illustrated will be around for many years more, certainly as long as I'm gardening.